You know, canon confirmation is super important if you're on Twitter, because in the real world, no one gives a shit if something is labelled as canon. And if you don't know, canon is...
Dude, in the real world, nobody cares. Yeah, the whole point is that Miguel's figured out that, like, all Spider-Man have this similar origin, and it has to be maintained for them to become the fully developed Spider-Man. Did you watch the fucking movie? Did you watch it? Enough. So let's go over one of the main videos we want to go over, because there's a couple suggestions to me that I thought were actually pretty solid. Ooh, wow. Okay, yeah, I think I definitely want to look at this, because Garbage Across the Stupid Verse. Robot Head's video on Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which I don't know if any of you guys have seen it. You should, because Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse was a fantastic movie. But let's see.
Woo! Hallelujah.
This video is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform to build your online presence. If Twitter wrote a movie with all its overused memes, tired jokes, stupid logic, and cliched versions of men, women, and race, it would be Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, a film for the Twitter generation who hate original characters and have a 5-minute concentration span.
So we're just supposed to
Hate original characters? Did you go to a Spider-Man movie expecting original characters? Because I'm going to tell you, that's probably a bad call.
let people die. You realize how messed up that sounds, right?
Let me guess. He died?
But before you carry on, I was a big fan of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I thought that was a great film. Stylistically, it looked great. The story was good. Came up with an interesting way of creating a new version of Spider-Man without totally shitting on the original version, which is something a lot of us wish Hollywood would practice more often. Miles was his own...
Yeah. So what I'm getting from this is that when the first one came out, it wasn't as popular to shit on Miles Morales, but it's we can make money shitting on him now, so we're going to do that.
Own interesting character, and not just a bastardized version of Peter Parker. The villains were more than paper-thin bad guys who had interesting motivations and backstories. The father was alive, which is rare to begin with these days. He wasn't a moron, and he loved his son.
You gotta say I love you back.
Dad, are you serious? You want to hear me
I
say
love
it?
you, Dad.
And he acted like a man. In fact, all the men in the first film acted like men. I know, what am I? Some sort of backward caveman?
All the men acted like men. In general, men act like men. Like I assume you're just talking like, you know, they gotta be tough guys or something. Like, what argument is that? Like...
For wanting to see men portrayed as men in film? Well, yes, maybe. Or maybe I'm just normal. Even the multiverse storyline worked, and I normally hate multiverse stories. They seem like the lazy modern cop-out that allows franchises to cash in on emotional deaths of characters that they can then just bring back at any time with the ease of the multiverse.
I'm listening.
The bloody multiverse has replaced time travel as my most hated way lazy writers get themselves out of holes they've dug themselves into.
I figured it out. Time travel.
Wow, that's amazing and bullshit.
The multiverse Spider-Mans, women's, theys, whatever they go by, were an interesting idea. Though them all being from different animation universes adds a lot of problems to the already complex idea of multiverses. Like, when does it stop being a multiverse and just become a different universe that's existing at the same time, with every possible thing being different except for the fact that somehow they got a Spider-Man? You see, multiverses usually means they are multiple versions of the same universe with the experiences all mixed up, so we get different outcomes. The multiverse in these films isn't just about multiple versions of each character, it's also about multiple versions of evolution, biology, science, and God.
Wow, it's almost like multiverses have their own rules, and it doesn't matter, and the writers can kind of just decide what rules they want them to follow, because fiction, yeah.
Yes, thank you, Talking Pig.
My name is Peter Porker.
But I get it, and I went along with it. This is an animated movie aimed at kids that I thought was going to sit in its own universe.
What are you, some kind of silly cartoon?
You got a problem with cartoons?
I'm sorry, you thought would sit its own universe when the movie itself didn't sit in its own universe?
Cartoons?
Is it great storytelling, fitting for one of the most loved superheroes of all time? No, it's a movie-length joke that's tipping its hat to the history of the animated hero.
You thought it was a joke? Like, there's definitely plenty of humor in the first one, but there's lots of great, like, dramatic moments, too. There's great character development for Miles. It's a pretty fantastic movie, which is why people love it. They don't view it as a joke.
Heroes in a huge wink to the audience. Like Shrek, you know, stupid but fun. But everything that made the original film great is gone. Even the lead, because this is now Gwen Stacy's story. Well,
not true. Not true at all. Gwen Stacy, I would argue, is almost the co-lead. Almost. Her role is significantly boosted up, but it's still very much Miles' movie. Like throughout, like the core storyline, it's his struggle that we're watching. It's his issue that's driving the movie forward.
Well, it's at least her coming out story. We open with her struggles and we end with her redemption. She gets the first and last lines of the movie.
Let's do things differently this time. I never found the right band to join, so I started my own.
Yeah, and you're also ignoring the fact that, like, the whole, like, essentially, like, okay, you could argue the beginning's different, but at the end, she's putting together a group to help Miles because Miles is, like, going through the issue right now. The core issue of the movie right now is something Miles is going through, and she's essentially getting supporting characters put together to help him. But sure, let's ignore that because she had the final line, and that's all that matters, right?
The art style from the original is now in overdrive. What was used to great effect in the first film is now a distraction hiding the true meaning of this film. And
okay. I will give you this. I did think the art style would get distracting sometimes. That being said, in the first movie, we aren't actually traveling to all different multiverses too much as the audience member because we're mostly following Miles and he's in his one universe and then people from other universes are coming over. Now in this movie, we have Miles traveling to other multiverses. So we're seeing different multiverses and different animation styles. And if you want to say that that was a bit distracting sometimes, I will actually give that one to you, Robot Head, because I agree. I guess I'll go over my thoughts on it real fast, but I've gone over it before. I did not think Across the Spider-Verse was as good as Into the Spider-Verse, but it was still fantastic. It was an amazingly well-done movie. There's a podcast on it.
And most of all, the greatest crime of this film, no Nicolas Cage.
Wherever I go, the wind follows.
And no
okay.
Third act. I nearly cried when I realised that this was part one of a two-part story.
Well, despite the fact that for the longest time in its advertising, it was being advertised as Across the Spider-Verse, and I hate to tell this to you, but obviously you can't read story structure because it had a third act. You just weren't paying attention, or maybe you don't know what the fuck the third act is.
Well, I didn't really cry because I can only take so much social grooming and classic character destruction.
Social grooming. Oh my god. Okay, let's what are you gonna say?
In my entertainment, I'll be fine missing the next one, thanks.
It was antagonising fascists. It's a metaphor for capitalism.
And the change I hated the most was the dialogue.
But this is where the British stole all of our stuff.
Where the original felt genuine and sincere. It felt like real people talking, with some very sweet moments.
I love you.
Wait, what?
Well, that's been replaced with a script that's injected with what we see all too often in modern Hollywood.
None of your business, nosy.
Especially when trying to write strong teenage girls.
Okay, so there's plenty of genuine moments in this one as well, but there's also joke moments, just like there was in the original. You can't compare a genuine moment in the original to a joke moment in the sequel and say, oh, they're comparable. Because there's genuine moments in this one as well. You're just cherry picking.
Girls, way too much smarmy smartass.
I'm sorry, who exactly are you supposed to be?
I'm from another dimension.
You are? Wow, actually, I'm not confused.
And as far as the humour, man, could we get a joke from this decade, thanks?
I don't think
going with this costume anymore.
Being a paid writer used to mean that you would write new things, like jokes. But every joke in Across the Spider-Verse is copied from people on Twitter who share jokes they think are new that were really being shared by their dads back in 1998.
The M stands for machine.
Yes, the old, and I mean very old, ATM observation. What's the next film going to have? Pin number jokes?
I love chai tea. What did you just say? Chai tea? Chai means tea, bro.
And yes, language is used differently in different parts of the world. Chai tea is what it's known in the West.
That's a Western culture cliche.
Yeah, how dare they use jokes?
Now let me guess, you're gonna ask me about saffron?
I mean, he does understand that, like, most of humor is actually delivery. It's not the actual words, right? Like, delivery means a lot with humor. A lot.
Cardamom is non-bread, which is the same as saying bread, which is the same as saying chai tea.
It's a bit hypocritical to lecture your audience on cliches when the character doing the lecturing is all cliche.
Well, I mean, it's not that he's all cliche, but, like, the fact that he's lecturing on chai tea and thinks that's important is part of the joke. Get over it, you know?
A few street dogs, quick break for a cup of chai with my Mayan. This is where the traffic is, this is where the traffic is, this is also where the traffic is, there's traffic here too, but this is where the British stole all of our stuff.
It really feels like this film was written by the same people that write those incredibly cheap, horrible kids shows. The type of writing that thinks that references alone are humour.
Now then, take more selfies.
Yes, I love to selfie.
In the very long opening of this film, our hero Spider-Woman is fighting a sepia-toned villain from another dimension when our main antagonist gets introduced. A big, cool-looking, powerful Spider-Man. Instead of being surprised or at a minimum polite, Gwen decides to be a complete smartass to this guy. Because, you know, he's a dude. And that's how women talk to men who are masculine and...
No, you're missing the context. He kind of jumped in and she's trying to figure out why this guy from an alternate dimension is invading her universe, and she's assuming this other Spider-Man has something to do with it.
Movies these days.
Wow, actually, I'm not confused.
I know, Peter was prone to the odd smartass line.
Guess you haven't heard. I'm the sheriff around these parts.
But that was usually reserved for the villains, not fellow crime fighters.
Captain? Big fan.
So, like, you're not allowed to be a smartass if you're friendly to people? What? Yeah, people are smartasses kind of in general. Like, you don't just wait for, like, a supervillain to pop up and be a smartass then. What? Otherwise, nobody would... Like, how many supervillains exist in real life? Like, do you think people just wait for supervillains to pop up so they can finally throw some smartass at them? What?
Fan of Spider-Man?
Yeah, we'll talk about it later. Just...
Hey, everyone.
Good job.
Okay? Knock yourself
I like how he speeds it up, so it sounds weird.
out.
Why are you saying it like that?
But Gwen's attitude and basic politeness quickly changes when a Spider-Woman turns up, an afro-wearing, motorbike-riding, kick-ass Spider-Woman. One who, on top of all that, is also pregnant. Not only can a woman do anything, they can also do it pregnant. Now, this isn't from personal
Yeah, it's almost like she has superpowers. It's weird, right? It's weird, yeah.
experience, but riding a motorbike pregnant's not the most comfortable or easiest thing to do, let alone kicking ass and swinging through the multi-dimensions. But, you know, every woman's got to be as womanly as we can womanly make them.
Will you adopt me?
She goes from laughing at the dude to asking to be adopted by the woman in the blink of an eye. And the only reasoning is that one of them doesn't have a schlong. How
Right. You know, let's shit on the pregnant woman too. Sure, why not?
modern and interesting. And don't get me wrong, this is not about some weird reverse sexism. It's the laziness of the writers is what I hate. Make your characters interesting, not just easy cliches.
Cause I'm Foxy Cleopatra, and I'm a whole lot of woman. So high.
Will you adopt me?
And while every woman in this film is amazeballs,
What?
Call for backup.
Come on.
Please just call for...
Yeah, I already called her.
the men, well, the men, they aren't really portrayed so well.
As a father of a daughter.
What? Why are you talking about Peter P. Parker? Because Peter P. Parker actually does have a reduced role in this compared to the first one, where I'd consider him pretty much the second most prominent character in the first one. Whereas here, he's probably like fourth, probably, behind Gwen, obviously Miles, Gwen, and Miguel. I can't think there'd be anybody before him. But that being said, again, there's also Miles and Miguel, who are also men.
And the son of a mother.
Yeah, actually, stop talking.
Okay, duly noted.
Well, I'll accept this guy, Spider-Punk. He's the only one that comes across as manly and not a psychopath.
Here we go.
Miles comes off as a psychopath. And again, like, I'm not even sure if I'd quite qualify Miguel as a psychopath. He's an antagonist for sure, but like, psychopath is a bit much. He actually does have reasons for what he's doing. They're just not great.
Good.
I mean, with the over-coolness of Spider-Punk and his tough, rebellious ways.
Hey, what of it?
I'm surprised he didn't try and fight the system himself, but...
Oh, Whitney, was she pregnant during the comic book run? I didn't know that, but... I mean, she has superpowers, so it makes sense she might be able to get away with a bit more than average. And it even seems familiar in the movie here. They're like, you're pregnant, maybe, do less of this. No.
But like most punks in the real world, his toughness is all show and no substance. Instead of him fighting against the Spider-Man norm, he waits for a kid to turn up and then encourages him to rebel and take all the risks.
Kid, look, stop calling me that.
Here we go.
Hobie, you're not helping.
Good.
And then when the shit does go down, old Spider-Punk decides to save his own skin first.
For the record, I quit.
Yeah, because he doesn't, like... He gets involved later, but like in this moment, like literally, like it's like all the Spider-Men of all the multiverse are attacking Miles. And kind of his way of kind of siding with Miles is to step out. And it's possible he hasn't really even fully realized 100% whose side he's on, because Miguel actually has reasons for what he's doing. But essentially, this was his moment to essentially say, I need to think about this. I'm not really cool with ganging up on Miles in this moment. I'm just going to step out.
He only returns when there's safety in numbers. Ah, the modern heroes. Nothing
Well, I just explained that, but sure.
like them.
Hobie, you're not helping.
Good.
But the others, shit. We have moron, pathetic, flamboyant,
What? Why is his dad a moron? Oh.
psycho, and female. Hi, Peter Parker, the loving father.
Oh, god damn. I forgot how fucking stupid Robot Head is.
From the first movie, who didn't seem overly stupid. Well, I wouldn't say he's now a complete moron, but boy, is he struggling in the school meeting.
They're studying dark matter.
Yeah, I don't know what any of that means.
And following...
Okay. Well, dark matter is actually something fairly complex, and I'm saying it's complex because it's actually something that scientists largely don't know what it is either. That's why it's dark matter. So, like, that being over Jefferson's head doesn't seem like a huge leap.
A simple conversation seems to completely throw him.
You created me.
Spider-Man, why did you create that guy?
I didn't.
Anyway, back to our leader, who, for some reason, absolutely no one in this film respects.
All for...
Yeah, I already called her. But I enjoyed that.
Nobody respects? Like, he sends the entire, like, Spider Legion after Miles. Like, all of them. But nobody respects him. They'll just do what he says, but nobody respects him. Dude, he gets a lot of respect. Like, did you watch the movie?
Psycho man-child who is part genius, part moron, and who is constantly raging with teenage outbursts that include calling this Spider-Man a little nerd.
Getting started on Doctor Strange, a little nerd back on Earth 1999.
What a bitch this guy is. While we're on this scene, how come distance and sound
Yes, how dare he have opinions?
have no connection in this film? Anyone can just talk to anyone else at any given time, no matter how far apart they are or how noisy their environment is.
Dude, are you sure you're even Spider-Man?
You!
I understand giving leeway to an animation over a live action, like in scenes when they are swinging around together, and it'd be impossible to hear each other, but who cares?
Don't worry, I really would have come to see you sooner.
Right.
Who cares?
But some scenes are just really lazy storytelling.
Stop running and stop chasing me.
Like
Well, I mean, also, they are clearly supposed to be yelling at each other, so...
super duper Spider-Man talking to the pilot of a helicopter that's not only miles away, but would be super noisy. How does that work?
I'm a good guy. You don't look like a good guy. You're just gonna have to shut up.
Yes, I know, it's a fucking cartoon. But, you know, like I said, there's leeway for animation and then there's just bloody lazy writing where you can't be bothered setting up the scene properly. What is Hollywood's fascination?
Okay, you know, I'll give it to you. It's unrealistic that he could yell to a helicopter and effectively communicate with them. I don't really care. But you know what? If you really like want to nitpick the shit out of this, go for it.
The nation with fat pilots these days.
Let me buy you a drink.
Then we have the Valley Girl Spider-Man.
What was even the point of that?
And his amazing hair.
Do almost nothing with my...
You mean Indian Spider-Man? This is Indian Spider-Man. Valley Girl Spider... Oh my god.
Amazing hair.
You don't use any product at all.
Just coconut oil, prayers, and genetics.
Ah, yes, guys are always having these type of conversations about their hair and which hair products they use.
Okay, I'm certain plenty of men use hair products. It's not uncommon, and it's not drag queens either. There's actual just men who use hair products. I'm trying to think. I would sometimes use mousse just to keep my hair flat from like going over the place. As I've gotten older, I don't really care. I would use a gel for Halloween costumes. The whole point with men's hair is that they try to make it look like they're not using product, but they will use product. Yeah.
I used to dye my hair all the time.
Then we have this mess of a human.
That was a particularly harrowing memory.
Oh my god, that was like that. Scarlet Spider was a joke in this movie. If you're not happy with that, then okay, cool. But like, yeah, you're talking about not being a fully developed character when it's like such a minor character. He has like what, 6 lines in the movie? Yeah, and he's a joke, but it's like 6 fucking lines.
One of the few white dude Spider-Mans who was always way too emotional about everything. In fact, he's that emotional he can't get anything done. Yet somehow he too got an important time travel watch. Before you get your knickers in a knot, I couldn't care less if you made the old cast not in white. The whiteys have had a pretty good run at being Spider-Man. But if you are going to mix it up a bit, try not to be so bloody obvious about your bias. At least have one competent white guy.
Okay, number 1, Peter B. Parker, probably the 4th most prominent character in the movie. Yes, he's a white guy. How many white guys do you need to be prominent for you to be okay with this? I mean, you just said that like there have been plenty of white guy Spider-Mans. So now we got Miles Morales as Spider-Man, and the 4th most prominent character is a white Spider-Man. But apparently that's not good enough for you. So what do you want?
As a father of a daughter and the son of a mother.
Yeah, actually, stop talking.
Okay, duly noted.
I mean, look at the difference here. Look at the black dude. Cool as fuck. Give me a film on that guy. And then we have Peter, an estrogen-filled whitey wearing a pink...
Estrogen-filled? Man, fuck you. He's a father, man. He's taking care of his daughter.
bathrobe holding a baby.
Okay, so like, if taking care of your children makes you a beta male, then I guess I'm a beta male, and I guess every father who's responsible is a beta male. That's a pretty shit take, though, dude.
Yeah, there's no agenda in this film at all.
The agenda that fathers should be willing to take care of their children? Yeah, what a fucking woke agenda. Dude. Oh, I can't stand these people.
The reason I had her, okay?
That should make Peter's partner feel real special. Don't tell Mom. Peter Parker's whole personality in this film is just female. He wears a pink dressing gown the whole time. We even find out he wears that to work.
How's work?
He's now a baby on board, demasculated, cockless male.
Baby on board. You know, I'm getting sick of this. Like, just being a responsible parent of your young child makes you, like, cockless and, you know, fucking, you know, beta, estrogen-filled. Like, what? Like, to be like a parent that's acceptable in these guys' eyes, what? Do you have to, like, beat up your kid? What are they looking for? Like, you know, just leaving the kid alone? Like, what? Like, always requiring the mother to take care of the child all the time? What do these guys want? This is such a weird fucking complaint. I'm sorry. Men should take care of their children just as much as the women do. In fact, it's good for the child to have their parents care for them. You know, it doesn't matter if you're with your wife or you're separated. You still should be involved with your child's life. Now, if for some reason you can't, then, you know, obviously there's exceptions and you do have to take care of yourself. But, like, you should be involved with your child's life no matter what. Like, even if you can't always be around them, you should be involved with your child's life as much as you can.
Who just wants people to hold his baby?
Do you want to hold my baby? What? Would you just give the baby one squeeze?
Oh, very rejuvenating.
He even needs his wife to explain to him what a sports metaphor is.
That's a sports metaphor, by the way.
I understand.
No, you're just such a nerd in high school.
Okay, number one, he said he understood. Number two, Peter Parker was never the fucking sports guy. Do you know the character?
I don't watch sports.
So, you know, that's what they've made of Peter Parker.
He was never the sports guy, bro.
Now a short break from the madness to talk about something that'll make you look awesome. Do you have an amazing product you want to sell? Maybe it's you and your talents.
Okay, who is his... Like, he has a corporate sponsor? Squarespace. Squarespace is sponsoring Robot Head and his anti-woke garbage. That's a good reason not to get Squarespace ever.
I love you all.
Now, the plot of this movie wouldn't seem so bad if this was an alternative universe out on its own, not connected to any other Spider-Man. But no, like every bullshit IP these days, every story, film, TV show, fuck, in this movie, even the video game versions have to be linked.
Video game guy.
I love video games.
Another video game guy.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Talking to me?
As I've mentioned, we allow certain liberties in animation that don't quite work in live action.
It's rude to stare. Call that one myself. I slipped.
You? Okay, I did all the work.
But if you're going to make a film that crosses those lines, like in the Lego movie, humans affecting the animation world brings up far less of a logical leap than having the animated world ruling over the live action world.
They are the canon. Chapters that are a part of every spider story, every time.
A boy's daydream toy world coming to life is sweet because it's something kids dream of every day. The creators saying that the Lego world, the animated memes, and every live action tragedy are all linked and are now all governed by this animated world.
It's like, it's a multiverse and every universe has its own rules. Isn't that weird?
Is way too much meta circle jerking for my tastes.
The way I'm using it makes it an adult thing.
And don't for one second think you're ever going to get away from Spider-Man's origin story. No, these days no stories are allowed to move forward. We're going to be reliving Uncle Ben's death to the end of time. And if you think that's bad, well, treading the same ground over and over would be bad enough. But no, we have to raise the stakes on repeating these deaths in the Spider-Man universe, because a loved one's death is no longer a sad random act that makes our newly created web-slinger grow into the hero they should be. No, those deaths are now lifted to a higher purpose and have to happen because talking about those deaths forever is easier than creating a new story. All those deaths are now important because now they're all pre-written canon. And
Okay, what, are you missing are you doing this on purpose or are you just fucking stupid? Like, the whole point is that we've seen these events happen over and over again throughout all the Spider-Man, in all these movies. We've seen this over and over again. And the whole point is that what this movie is saying is that, like, these are, like, pre-written points in Spider-Man's history to properly become a Spider-Man. And it has to follow these points to fully evolve to the Spider-Man they're supposed to be. That's what Miguel O'Hara is trying to keep intact. That is his reasons for forcing Miles to do what he wants. Now, is Miguel doing a good job at this? Maybe in some instances, yes. I think he does a very bad job with Miles in this movie. But I don't want to spoil any more than he's going to spoil, so let's see what else he gets into.
you know, canon confirmation is super important if you're on Twitter, because in the real world, no one gives a shit if something is labelled as canon. And if you don't know, canon is...
Dude, in the real world, nobody cares. Yeah, the whole point is that Miguel's figured out that, like, all Spider-Men have this similar origin, and it has to be maintained for them to become the fully developed Spider-Man. Did you watch the fucking movie? Did you watch it?
The studio or creators agreed upon events that happen in any IP's universe.
Bullshit.
Yes, I prefer good stories and original ideas, but to the true diehard fans, canon means everything.
Protect me.
So if you preferred it when Spider-Man was your friendly neighbourhood hero, over the universe-crushing godlike heroes and villains we're getting these days, well, you're completely out of luck. Spider-Man in this film isn't just godlike, he now is a god. And not in some over-the-top way of describing his powers. Powers, I might add, that constantly change to fit in with the limited imagination of the writers.
Okay, I need to know when any Spider-Man's powers in this movie change at all. The different Spider-Man have different powers. I mean, Peter Parker's powers are slightly different than Miles. They're different than Miguel's. They have different power sets, but they're kind of similar. So I need an example of when they changed to make it convenient in this movie at all.
Spider-Men's, women's, and whatever else they want to make a Spider-Man.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure if you watched it at all.
In this film, are gods in the classical sense.
And he's talking about them being gods, and did you watch the movie? Like, what are you even talking about, man?
Fate of every universe relies on their actions. If they save the wrong person, then their whole universe can collapse.
What's that?
It's a metaphor for capitalism.
Woke.
My favourite thing about Valley Girl Spider-Man is that he pretends to respect the father of his crush, knowing that the guy is marked for death in a couple of days.
He doesn't know that. Did you watch the movie? He has no idea about that. Oh my god, dude. Watch the fucking movie next time.
Police Inspector Singh, this is your daughter. I do not know her.
That's why Valley Girl Spider-Man's so cheery all the time. Once the police captain dies, in the planned canon death, our young hero here will be free to bang away his girlfriend at his heart's content.
Inspector Singh's death was a canon event. You weren't supposed to save him. That's why Gwen tried to stop you.
Every single man, woman, and child across the planet will die if Spider-Man dare strays out of the pre-written story and saves the wrong person. Which means the spider things, well, they are fucking just things now because...
I mean, is he criticizing Peter Park's car, which is obviously a fucking joke? Like you were just saying, you know, the original movie had jokes. Well, this one has dumb jokes too. Peter Park's car is actually from the comic book canon, and it's a dumb joke in the comic book canon. I'm not saying it's like... I think it's kind of funny, honestly. I just like the name Peter Park's car. It's just funny. But, like, we're not dealing with, like, an in-depth character in the movie. He has, like, this quick, brief cameo, and then that's it.
There's even a Cars one. The spider things are gods, but they're low-level gods. Because for this story to work, there has to be an all-powerful controlling god that is writing the script that has to be followed. And if this god's script isn't followed, then death to millions of men, women, and children. I love a happy hero story.
Did you even watch it? Like, I'm not even convinced you watched this movie with how poorly you're reading it.
Our God cannot exist in this multiverse. Free will doesn't exist. Even God in our world lets us try and kill.
That's the theme of the fucking movie, that free will does exist, and maybe things don't have to go the way he expects, because, you know, maybe free will. Maybe we can figure out a way around this.
Cancer, or maybe save someone from dying, but not the Spider God. The Spider God rules all, and if one of his chosen ones steps slightly out of line, we all die.
Okay, it's so worth noting, like, he's showing a picture of Spider-God that's not from this movie, because he's not part of this fucking movie. Miguel Harrow's just looked at all these patterns, and he's figured out these patterns, and he's like, this is a pattern that has to go through to get a proper origin for spider people. There's no Spider-God established.
For the sin of non-sacrifice. So pray the right people get killed.
Now, I didn't think about this. This might be essentially him being a Christian and being offended at the idea of their not being a traditional God. Maybe. I didn't think about that.
You are the reason I'm alive, Jesus. I just love you.
Yeah, there's lots of religious clips in here, too, that he does for jokes. Like, and I was like, where's he even seeing this from? Yeah, I wonder.
The planet is the supporting cast of Spider-Man and his existence.
You have a choice between saving one person and saving an entire world, every world.
Is every death, rescue, or capture part of the canon? Or is it just one death for each universe over the full history of that universe?
Save my dad.
Call an ambulance! Someone call an ambulance! Uncle Ben! Uncle Ben!
Oh.
That's not about counting the deaths. They were very explicit. That's the death of the uncle and the death of the captain were key parts of Spider-Man's origin. It's not counting fucking deaths, you dipshit.
The famous spider bite that started the Spider-Man story is now no random coincidence. That bite was pre-written by Spider-God, so at a certain time in man's existence, a particular death can happen to save mankind.
You have a choice between saving one person and saving an entire world, every world.
I've heard a similar story somewhere before. The one man must die to save mankind. The police captains in the
Yeah, he's going back to lots of Christian stuff, man.
Spider-Man story, and now Jesus. And Spider-Man now has to be Judas.
See, not so bad, boy.
Sure.
Cheer up.
And if Peter Parker was your all-time favourite hero, think again. He is part of the Spider Police Force, whose main mission is to make sure the right people die. All the Spider heroes are in on it. All the ones we've been joking around with are in on this death guaranteed club. Not one of them is working on a plan to stop the death rule. I mean, the setup to guarantee the right people die is amazing.
Spider Society.
It's actually surprising that in the time between films, they worked out the whole canon system and understood it.
It's where the lines converge. They are the canon. Chapters that are a part of every Spider story, every time.
I mean, you think it would take generations to work out that pattern, linking a whole universe's collapse back to one individual not dying on a...
Well, we don't have generations, but we have at least hundreds of Spider-Man in that area that he's definitely has a handle on. So he's seen it hundreds of times at least. And I'm going to assume he has computer help as well.
Certain day? That's some Stephen Hawkins thinking.
Wrong again.
But our main antagonist here figured out controlled universe skipping travel. Well, his sidekick did.
Oh, here we go.
The multiverse didn't collapse.
Oh, cool. Hey, did you finish the goober?
It's not a goober, it's a gizmo.
Deciphered the whole mystery of the canon universe killing rules and set up a huge strike force within a couple of years of the events of the first movie. Even had time to have a full backstory where he lost his family, found a planet that had an exact copy family, and replaced his doppelganger when he died. You think that backstory alone would have taken a couple of years.
Bullshit.
But who knows? Hopefully.
Yeah, we don't actually know the exact timeline that's going on with Miguel. Sure.
Time in this film is like an Interstellar. It moves differently the further you are away from home. I want to see Miles return home, and his mum is now 93 and his dad is long dead as decades have passed while he's been away. But if that's not the case, how did this guy get so much done in just a few years? And to be totally...
Well, it's 5 years, but I don't think it's supposed to be that long between the two movies. I think it's a short period between the two movies. That being said, we don't know how long Miguel's been doing this. We don't know when the post-credit scene takes place as far as Miguel's timeline.
Fair, the
post-credit scene of the first movie.
Universe skipping tech must be incredibly easy to make. Spider-Punk just starts making his own version. Sort of makes that big spider weave.
Yeah, it's almost like Spider-Man is traditionally a very intelligent character.
Webs to send people through time all look a bit over the top, like it's not really needed at all.
You knew? You all knew?
Oh yeah, Peter knew. Peter Parker is as weak as the pink dressing gown he lives in.
Yeah, how dare he show regret for knowing this fact about Miles and realizing that he's kind of keeping it from him and feeling bad about that. Yeah, how dare he have human emotions? What a bitch. What a bitch Peter Parker is. What a girl. Estrogen-filled girl for having emotions. Men don't have emotions. Men don't give a shit about anything.
Spider-Man that's ever existed is weak compared to Miles. He's the bestest Spider-Man ever.
My bicep to constrict you.
Why is he not only stronger, but also morally superior to every other Spider-Man that's ever existed? Even better than the original creation.
We know it's hard. But it's the truth, Miles.
Because that's what...
TV show standing in for original creation. That's a read. Not accurate, I would guess, but not it's just another Spider-Man in this universe, dude.
What Hollywood does, it turns original characters into losers, so their new improved version can be so much better.
Wallace and Gromit fan, we can look at the comments section. I am interested to see what the comments section says, but a lot of these guys, they have these fans that just follow them. We'll see. I have a feeling the comment section is going to be very disappointing.
Nah, I'm going to do my own thing.
Across the Spider-Verse makes Peter Parker an absolute ballless dropkick who only gets to help in the end because Gwen Stacy comes to get him. And he's dumb enough to take his baby.
You're break enough canon, save enough captains, and we could lose everything.
Oh, you're right. You're right, Nate. That was a spectacular Spider-Man from the comic book, from the cartoon show. It's not the original. Yeah.
Wouldn't all the Spider-Men, women and things jumping universes be massive canon breaks? Or is this evil Spider-God only concerned with 2 specific deaths?
What about your dad? He's a captain, right?
Because I quit.
That means...
You are made of stupid.
This huge setup, thousands
What?
of spider brains working together to protect the all-important canon while people die, and Gwen's dad just saves himself by resigning from his job. Oh man, not one of these amazing spider people, cats, dinosaurs, cars, or even our genius antagonist thought of that. Just quit your job. Idiots.
Woke.
Party.
Allegories are interesting in movies, aren't they? The idea of criticising the world or getting a message across without being too literal or blatant is a fascinating way to be creative. Star Wars was an allegory for the Vietnam War, Gravity about childbirth, The Truman Show about reality TV obsession, and how real people are dehumanised by consumer audiences. So yes, some are very obvious, but some people just don't see allegories in stories. Their brains aren't wired that way. George R.R. Martin has said that Game of Thrones is an allegory for climate change, but some people will never see that. They just see it as an entertaining story. And allegories work especially well with children. They don't catch on to the underlying meaning, but they can be directed to a certain way of thinking. Now, if you were writing a kids' movie and wanted to talk about certain issues, well, you could just put up a big-ass sign in your film that's blatantly put directly where the eye will go, and make sure it's up long enough.
That's not an allegory. How stupid are you, Robot Head? That's not an allegory. That's literally just saying protect trans kids with a trans flag. An allegory would be you take the story and you reinterpret the story to mean something else. It's not a fucking protect trans kids poster in the background. You're so fucking stupid, man. I swear to God.
For the kiddies to read. But if you really want to dig down and get into those little kids' inner thoughts, you'd make a huge part of your film focusing on what it means to be accepted for who you truly are.
Oh, true. Okay, so you're actually going to get into it. You're going to get into the fact that, like, Gwen's story could be an allegory for being trans. It absolutely could. But you do realize by acknowledging that this allegory exists, you're pointing out the fact that, like, Gwen could be read as trans in this movie. And you'd be correct in that assessment, but lots of people you work with would probably disagree with you on that.
Especially when it comes to parents.
I know you know I've been lying to you. It's because I thought if you knew, you wouldn't love me the same.
Spider-Man was always protective of his identity to protect his loved ones and himself. But now it's more about whether their families will still love them once they expose who they really are. I don't think Peter Parker...
Well, I mean, that's actually been a very common thing in lots of Spider-Man projects because he keeps identity hidden and frequently... They didn't do this so much in the movies, but in the comic books, there's lots of periods where Aunt May hated Spider-Man, and obviously her nephew's Spider-Man, so that's an issue. That's a common thing, and this movie hits it with Gwen instead of Peter. But yeah, that's not unheard of at all.
Was ever questioning his family's love.
What do you want to tell me?
You gotta promise nothing's gonna change.
Papa, I will always love you.
You gotta promise.
This film wants to really drill home that your parents need to accept your true self, no questions asked. Even
Cool. What's your problem with that message? Tell me your problem with that message, please.
if that means quitting your day job, and if they don't support you 100%.
Quitting your day job? That was not what they're going for. He just happened to quit. Okay.
Then go off and live with people who will accept you for who you are. Yes, so you, Dad.
That what's wrong with that message? Like, if your parents aren't willing to accept you for who you are, go be with other people who will accept you for who you are? What's wrong with that message, dude? Like, what?
Till I find the Spider-Woman.
Even Dad's rocking the flag badge at
Good. Good for him.
work. Yes, this film is a huge allegory for coming out. And just in case you were missing that,
And they can only know half of who I am.
the filmmakers lean heavily on a certain flag's colour palette to make sure the kiddie's subconscious is connecting those dots.
Woke.
Oh, and if you think the colour palette that was chosen for these scenes is just a coincidence, then I've got some lovely bridges I'd like to sell you.
So he's acknowledging that there is absolutely a trans read of Gwen's character. Cool, man. I'm glad we can agree. Yes, there is a trans read of her character. Great, man.
Who cares? And I'm not the
Who cares? Like, you just pretty much acknowledge that that was an intentional thing done by the artist to give a trans read to her character, and you're saying who cares? What I've seen on Twitter is lots of trans people care, and they think it's pretty cool. And you know what? I'm cool with it as well.
The only one that was sitting in the cinema reading this message loud and clear. The members of a certain group have been very excited about the message the movie was sending.
Where my people at? Where my people at?
Like, how many of these people that you're showing are actually trans, though? Are these trans people? Are these drag queens? Because most of what you've shown are actually drag queens, which is there's a overlap for sure, but it's not the same thing.
Now, what do we have here? Oh, boy. That's going to go down well. Selling trash to the public has never been hard.
Don't worry, I know where there's more. McDonald's.
Why does Gwen having a trans read make it trash? You're going to have to explain that one.
Chicken McNuggets are fun.
So after really enjoying Into the Spider-Verse, to say I was disappointed in this movie is a bloody understatement. I hated this movie. It's obnoxious, way too long. It pushes its agenda way too hard, which is a shame.
Well, I like it. Pushes its agenda way too hard, despite the fact that, like, the Gwen stuff, as you point out, I criticized you because at first I thought you were just going to go after the sign, but you actually went after the fact that, yes, there is a trans allegory and a trans read to Gwen's character. But it's not made explicit. Like, this is a read. Like, there's nothing that says Gwen is trans. They're just a trans read to her character. So they don't shove it in your face, but apparently that's too much for you as well.
Because a lot of these characters could have been great. A lot of the animation
I am down for Spider Drag Queen as well.
look fantastic, and the voice actors did a great job. They're all just stuck in this stupid woke piece of crap.
You can all
oh, it's woke. It's woke, guys. It's also made a lot of money, so it went broke, right? Because it's woke, even though it made money. Shut up.
Stand around and each other off while you tilt your head backs and go, woke, woke.
We've met.
I don't know what video he's clipping there from John Campea, but it sounds like John Campea is actually being fairly entertaining and calling out these guys. Robot Head. He's an idiot. Okay, I'm really bad at fan outrage. So, Robot Head fans. He's an idiot. He's just bad at this, man. He pretends like he's an expert, but doesn't, like, take any time to, like, actually accept the story for the story they're trying to tell. And instead imposes his own rules on shit all the time, even though they're meaningless and don't mean anything. But yeah, that would pretty much sum up Robot Head fairly well. He sucks. That was a really bad video, but I think that was a good suggestion. I don't remember who requested it, but I think that was a good suggestion. Let's look at some choice comments here. Oh, wow. Holy shit, this isn't the film being sexist towards men. This is characterization. Spider people have always snarky and sarcastic and quippy towards everybody. This has nothing to do with the fact that Gwen is a chick and Miguel's a dude. Wow. Top comment, actually going after him. Gwen hadn't seen Nara Spider-Woman before, and Penny doesn't count. In the same way, because she's basically this controlling mech. How hard is it to understand? I think my favorite part of this film is the way they handled Spot. The way they took a small background character from the first movie and turned him into a multiversal threat was pretty ingenious. You can't help but feel sorry for the dude. He was just a regular scientist that had his life ruined and gets treated as a joke villain. Did we watch the same movie? I actually love this movie. I genuinely don't think you've seen a Spider-Man movie before. This is how Spider-Man is. Sarcasm, humor, and jokes is pretty much Spider-Man's most defining character trait. But hey, if you're looking for flaws, you're doing a good job with this confirmation bias. Yeah. And Miguel has every right to be mad at both MCU, Peter, and Strange. The mess in No Way Home was completely preventable as Strange was using his brain. Miguel isn't even a psycho. When he was explaining the multiverse in Canada Miles, he was calm and treated Miguel like any other Spider-Man. It was only when Miles started to rebel and risk the multiverse that Miguel started to become aggressive and forceful. Miguel, being a man who maintains the canon in universes, holds a lot of power, therefore holds a lot of responsibility. Actually seems like he's getting criticism here. That's good to know. That is good to know.
Books, records, films, these things matter. Call me shallow. It's the fucking truth.